Hey, it's Joel, and we're here in sunny Southern California, home of Matterhackers, and where the weather likes to give you a nice warm hug. We have this really cool project coming up using 3D printing and CNC milling thanks to the Shapeoko XXL, which is right over here, and I'm going to show you in just a moment. I'm Joel, this is 3D Printing Nerd. For this project that we want, it's going to be a really giant sign. It's going to look really awesome. It's going to use 3D printing. It's going to use milled wood, and we're going to use epoxy for parts. So in order to make it, first, the design is made in software. It's a vector shape, and then you take that, export as an SVG, you bring that into Fusion 360. And once in there, the parts for 3D printing will then be configured for dual extrusion. STLs will be saved, and it'll be sent to the Ultimaker for printing. The other parts that we're going to mill out on the Shapeoko XXL, we're going to send to Carbide3D software, and then that will mill it out of a giant piece of plywood. And then once done, it should look really awesome.
Well, I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
Alec! Is it done?
It's finished.
Wow. This thing is huge. I've never actually seen the Shapeoko XXL up close. I know it's 33 by 33 inches, but you don't really have scale unless it's in front of you.
It's pretty big.
And the sign looks fantastic. So it's just taped down to the wasteboard, right?
So the whole sheet of plywood is screwed down to really mount it into the wasteboard.
Okay.
But then there is some strips of double-sided tape to hold down some of the letters so those didn't fly off. But then this just has a little bit of a hold left from some of that tape still.
Wait.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Oh. Look at that. That's huge too.
It is large.
That's huge.
It is extra, extra large. So we'll grab the random orbital sander. We'll just go over the front and the back where there's maybe any sort of blowout and hold on to our pocket knives and clean it up if we need to a little bit.
That'll knock down this really easily.
Yeah, that'll
the
come
cuts
off really
look
easily.
really smooth. Wow. No, this is impressive. All right, let's go do it.
Cool, let's do it.
Now that this piece of wood is out of the Shapeoko XXL, it's a good cut, but there's still these little bits of the plywood that are out. Sometimes you can carve where you have tape over it to hold it down. Other times you just get yourself a random orbit sander, you put it down, and you sand them. Now we're at the point where much of the sanding that needs to be done is done. We've got some parts where little bits of sawdust are still inside, but that can be easily taken care of by just wiping it down. Next, what we need to do with this is to prep it for resin, and that's inside. Hey, Alec.
Hey, Joel.
Sanding is done. What do you think?
I think you did a pretty good job. Looks real nice and smooth.
So we need to do resin next. What's the first step in prepping for resin?
So you've already gone ahead and sanded, so all the edges are really nice and smooth. So now what we need to do is just take some blue tape and put it on the back of these.
Let's flip it over then.
We're just going to liberally apply this over all of the surfaces.
I've seen some people use aluminum tape or like a metal back.
That would work
tape.
too. This
Okay.
is just what we had on hand.
Okay.
I trust in blue tape.
And it's just, well, here, I'll start us off. So this is a giant roll of blue tape. And is there a direction that we need to tape?
Nope,
Is there...
we just need to make sure that it's really pressed down over the edges, anywhere that it's making contact with the wood, and just, if you're gonna overlap two pieces, make sure that they're really well stuck together.
Okay.
Because once you get one little leak and you start pouring, there's no stopping it. It's just gonna keep going.
I like that we're using 3D printing as a tool. While this isn't composed of mainly 3D printed anything, the 3D printing in it is awesome, and it's just part of the tools that we used on a project. Look at that.
Press it down, make sure they're really stuck together, not gonna get any leaks.
Well, and then once we flip it over, like you said, we'll press it down. Makes sense. Through the magic of space-time, we've teleported to the part of our video where we actually put the resin in this awesome display. But I don't know, I've never done resin before. I see bottles of stuff and gloves and stuff. I figure there's a process. Can you lead me through it?
Okay, so first thing we'll want to do is put on gloves, because anything with any sort of curing chemical is not good for skin.
True.
And we're in a well ventilated enough area, but if this were any smaller of a room, we'd probably want to wear respirators.
Okay.
Oh boy. That fits.
It's fun.
So this clear resin is just something I picked up from the hobby store. It's nothing particular about it. One of them is well used. We're gonna need a lot of it, which is why we have 3 sets of part A and part B. This particular resin is 1-to-1.
1-to-1, easy.
Very
so
easy.
Just
Yep.
squeeze into, I assume,
We're gonna
a red
use
cup?
we're gonna use the red cups, but then we'll add dye into the yellow one because the yellow one's a bit runnier, so it'll be a lot easier to mix in the dyes and the pigments into that one rather than trying to mix it into the really goopy one. Now,
Oh, what is the working time on this?
well, the demold time is 24 hours, so we have a very long time. It's not, the clock's ticking, but it's a slow tick.
I guess so. I was like, do we have to go fast? And essentially, no. We
No.
just have to not touch it for a day.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be a little bit. Put this in there, and we'll use this to measure out how much of the powder we want.
Powder, okay. Pigment goes in.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll be fine. That looks pretty.
It does look pretty.
And we have a long enough working time. Looking at the bottle, the work time of this is 30 to 40 minutes with a cure time of 24 hours. Do you want some of this pigment in there?
I don't know. Should I?
I think it's pretty.
Let's do it.
Okay. Mix it up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Make sure to scrape the sides and just get all of the part A and the part B really well mixed in there.
Should we
So-
use some sort of mechanical way of stirring it?
You could, if you had some sort of whisk or something on the end of your drill bit, you could absolutely use that to mix the two together. But I think we'll be just fine mixing it together with the back end of the knife.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You want to do the honors?
Sure. Just
Suck it up.
the swirliness of the color is extraordinary.
I think that's because of the pigment. I think that really is what gives us that swirl.
It's kind of fun. I kind of like it.
A little bit of post-processing never hurt anybody.
True. What's really cool, there are channels that do a lot of resin. Peter Brown
Oh, I love Peter.
does some incredible stuff with resin. And so I know, even though what we did might not be exactly what we were going for, being this my first time, I can see how this can be really appealing as far as a maker thing, right?
Yeah.
And I could see, because he encases things in resins with like crayons and colored pencils and bread, I think.
Yeah.
So I could see how adding resin to your tool set is an incredible thing to help you make stuff.
Just like 3D printing, there's just a lot of different ways you could take this. We could have used different dyes, different pigments. You could have actual metal in the pigments, just like, steel fill or copper fill. You could do that with the resin.
So now we let the resin cure.
Yep.
And it's gonna take a little while.
It's gonna take quite a while.
Okay, so we're gonna call it a day. We're gonna let this cure. We're gonna put signs outside the door that say, don't come in here, beware of dog. We'll approach this tomorrow and we'll see how it looks and then possibly sand it and possibly put some urethane on it.
Yeah, and definitely glue in these. That's important.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Hey, Alec.
Hey, Joel.
It's the next day. We had a good time last night and we let this cure and set up overnight and it looks like, well, a lot of stuff happened. We have paint cans here. Why is that?
Well, the fingers here, they started to lift and they were lifting away from the outer rim, so there was a really good bowing happening here where the resin was starting to seep under the fingers. Tried to solve that by putting some paint cans on top.
It looks like there's some lines here. So you put blue tape down?
Yeah, because then once the paint cans are on top, the resin started seeping up and sticking to the can, which would have just solidified a can on top of this. So I took it off, cleaned it, put some blue tape over it. But in doing so, saved the paint can, leveled this out, but now we have some flat spots where the surface tension pulled the resin up top.
Oh,
leveling out.
I see, and we have some height difference here. Well, when we sand this down, it could be that once this is polished and sanded and has a similar shine to this, maybe it'll be okay.
Yeah.
What happened over here? I see a lot of bubbles.
So that could be a couple of reasons. It could be because of my giant syringe pumping in a bunch of bubbles.
You did have a high flow nozzle on that
I
thing.
did. Or it could even be that this is just so much thicker that it cured a lot faster and kind of generated its own bubbles from the porosity of the wood. I can't really tell.
You said porosity?
I did.
Is that a word?
Is it not? But that could have caused this to fizz, and then these bubbles just got trapped because this cured so much quicker than, say, over here, because it's just got a lot more mass to it, so a lot more volume. It's gonna generate a lot more heat, which, like our bowl here,
we left the resin in the bowl.
so that's solid, and it got
amazing.
so hot that it melted the plastic sheet that was underneath it.
So it is an exothermic reaction,
Yes.
and I guess the more volume you have, the more reaction. So it's the more stuff, the hotter it's gonna get.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, for this over here, I would imagine if we were to do this again, we might leave little tabs or not cut all the way through. For the bubbles, I've seen people who do resin where they put it into a vacuum pot and pull out the bubbles and then do a slow pour with a smaller nozzle,
Yes.
essentially. It did look like it spilled out right here in the corner.
Definitely leaked through, but our plastic sheeting, I think, saved us and it didn't get on the floor.
Well, that's
and
good.
We'll just have to sand off a little bit more on the edges.
Sure.
That's fine.
Okay, well, let's take this up and actually take some tape off and take a look.
Sure.
It looks like the tape is done, at least as much as we can get.
Yeah.
Some of the resin on the bottom hasn't fully cured, so we'll give it another 24 hours to cure, and then that tape can be removed. But Alec, I won't be here
So I'll
in
take it
24 hours. Okay. Well, then once it's cured, you can remove the rest of this tape. Do you have any other ideas for the backside here?
I am thinking that if this is all cured, I might go and take this back onto the Shapeoko and just take off maybe 1/8 of an inch of the entire back surface. Just to smooth
that's
it out.
just an 1/8 of an inch lower pass with that bit, just
Yep,
to.
and just let it
bring
go
it
for
down.
however long that takes. Because now I have the time and just shave it all off.
Awesome. That's actually a great idea. Well, then let's flip it over. Then if you're going to be finishing this up, let's take a look at the front. There are the bubbles,
Right.
and there are these valleys. What's going to happen there?
So here I might mix up a little more resin, try and fill in some of these, because there is a good depth difference between some of these parts. But I can't do a lot of work until I wait for this to cure too, so.
Oh, that's right. It's still sticky. And if you sand this, sawdust is going to stick to it.
Exactly. Maybe wait even longer, and I could do another plane on this side. So just take off 1/8 of an inch on this side to make
Oh.
everything level too. It really just depends on how well does the second pass of this go.
The key here is to give it more time to cure.
Yes.
What about here? Because I know parts go here, here, and here. You can't really put those in until after you're done sanding.
Right.
Can we take a look at them?
Sure, absolutely.
There we go. Looks like that. Oh, and Matterhackers and Carbide.
There and there.
Look at that. Oh, so these will pressure fit in.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, what you could do is actually leave these out. You can prepare these, but leave them out and get this prepared as much as you want to do, and then just package it all up and send it to me and have me finish it in my shop. We have that.
good.
We have that option.
Yeah, let's do that.
We also know that blue tape probably isn't the best backing.
Right.
And we know that we shouldn't mill all the way through, maybe, or leave some tabs or something. Well, Alec, I'm going to wish you the best of luck. I trust in you to finish it to a certain point, and then send it to me. I'll open that box and we'll get it done.
Absolutely.
See you later, man.
See ya.
Ooh, I'm excited. Look what arrived from Matterhackers. A big, giant package. And I'm pretty sure I know what this is because Alec was going to take care of the big sign, and then he was going to send it my way. So we need to do a dissection. Wonder what side we choose. Yes. Yes. Oh, look at this. This. Good kind of high-fivedness to it. Alex said he took care of it, and he definitely took care of it. So, the back. This is still a little tacky. Just a little bit. So, my guess is the mixture wasn't precise. So, I'll figure out a way to make it de-tacky, or I can kind of chip away, sand it down, and put a covering down. Maybe that's what I do. Okay, but the front, the front. That looks pretty darn good. You can see that the resin pour here, not tacky, it's a little proud. What I'm gonna do is take my sander and sand this down. It's all cured. I'm gonna sand it down until we have just wood. And then I can put a urethane on it, and then I can attach the 3D printed pieces that they gave me that go right there and right there and right there. Wait, hold on. The pieces did arrive in this package right here. There, haha, there we go. So what I need to do, okay, first I need to sand down all of the proud resin, and then I need to stain it, and then I need to trim some of these 3D printed pieces to fit, and then I'm gonna glue them into place, and then we've got ourselves a sign. Now it's time to take down to the garage, because I'm not sanding up here. Hey, it's Joel, day two of sanding. Here's what I did. I was at the Home Depot and I picked up my very first belt sander. It's a rigid, and I hogged out all of the proud resin that was on this. In fact, take a look. If you remember, the sign had a bunch of resin that was proud, and I used, I believe it was 60 grit or 80 grit sandpaper to take it down. It's smooth. It's a little irregular through here. Oh, you know what? We're all learning something at some point, right? But more importantly, the resin has been reduced. It's down to the same level as the wood. So now what I can do is finish with some finer grits. Sanding has been going well. Let's see, I switched over from the belt sander to the random orbital sander, which I had 220 grit on there. Now I have these Diablo 400 grit sanding screens. We'll see what happens. Here, have a look. This is after using 220. You can see there are some imperfections in the resin, just a little bit, just from my heavy duty sanding with the 60 grit. The whole thing is starting to come out pretty dang nice. Sanding at 400 grit is done. I did use that sanding screen thing. I don't know. That's it. It's smooth. I mean, there are parts that aren't smooth, but I'm going to deal with that. Whoa, okay. I got this green towel. I wet it down and I wiped it down and the blue just popped. It popped like crazy. Look at this. Wow, that is so cool. Now that I got it wiped down, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my urethane. We've got black cherry, matte, natural, and Kona. Black cherry, matte, which is just kind of like a matte finish. Natural just accentuates the actual wood itself. And then Kona, I did on the back. See, I even put a towel down to protect it. And I'm going with the Kona because I think that dark around the blue is just gonna make it pop like crazy. Here it is. That's the Kona stain. And I'm not gonna lie, I love it. I love how dark and mysterious maybe. I love the personality that it brings out in this wood. I know it's a little plain right here, but once you go up into the hand, you've got these cool designs coming out. You've got the high five looking really, really sharp. This is cool. This is cool. There are spots where there is some stain that's staying on the resin. I'm not horribly worried about it, but what I might try to do is just run some acetone over that in spots, in places, just to see if it comes off. Again, I'm not worried about it, but I think we're at a place, where this is good. I like this. I like this a lot. What I've just done is the glue up part. I mean, it's all one piece, right? It's all one piece. But I did the glue up because there are 3D printed pieces in it. First of all, silicone glue tools. Jackman Works turned me on to these because he's rad. But yeah, once the glue dries, you just peel them off. It's fantastic. The 3D Printing Nerd logo, the Carbide3D logo, the Matterhackers logo. I used some Titebond 3 glue and I just glued them in place. Once they are set, then I was gonna spread some of that epoxy over the whole thing. I think it'll be about 1/16 of an inch. It's late at night, but I just finished the resin pour, the clear resin that's going to go on top of it. And it's a clear high gloss resin. You can see the light reflecting in that. I used that blowtorch over there to get some of the air bubbles out. And unfortunately, I held it on spot too long, which did cause some smoke, but you know, whatever. I'm willing to bet I didn't sand or prepare the surface enough, but I think it's looking okay. I used 4 ounces of hardener, 4 ounces of resin, which combined for a total of 8 ounces of stuff. I did 2 6-minute mixings, and then I just poured it, and I used that silicone comb to kind of brush it over. I don't know. It's nighttime now, so let's sit overnight, and I'll see you in the morning. Ooh, boy, this has had 24 hours of cure time on it, I think. You ready to see it? Big reveal? There it is. Look at that. That is fantastic. I love how this looks. I love how you have the 3D printed elements and you have the resin here that's been tinted blue, and then you've got the clear resin over the top, and you've got the Kona polyurethane varnish on it. Really like it. Look, it's got the logos down there. Also, it is highly reflective, but I dig it. I dig it a lot. I think this turned out incredibly well. I think that one of the reasons why I think this is so wonderful is because it's this combination of things. It's like all of these things came together and made this cool project. It's not perfect. It's not perfect by any means, but it was a lot of fun to learn about and a lot of fun to make, and it's inspiring. And that's why these things are important, because I feel inspired to use resin more. I feel inspired to use CNC milling more. I feel inspired to do a mix of materials. I hope if you've seen me do it, it means that you're not scared to try it either. Well, a big thanks to Matterhackers and Carbide3D for sponsoring this video. I'll put links down in the description for all the cool stuff that we used from those two wonderful companies. Normally I'm going to say don't forget to hug each other more, but along with that I'm going to say don't forget to wear your respirator when you're sanding for days like I did. See you on the next one. As always, can you see me? High five.